So contrary to what we sort of see in the media, these kind of reports, the climate change stuff, it's not just left-leaning, tree-hugging hippies that are putting this stuff out, right? This is real.
No, so physics doesn't recognise left or right. If you jump off a cliff and shout, "I don't believe in gravity," it has absolutely no impact on what happens to you when you hit the ground. You can deny climate change, you can say climate change is wrong. That doesn't actually change whether climate science is right or not.
It's true.
So your fundamental problem if you don't believe in climate change is the evidence doesn't agree with you. As someone said, you can have your own views, but you can't disagree with the facts when the facts are clear and unambiguous from the science.
Hey, good morning. Morning walk episode 63, and you know, some days things really just don't go the way that you're hoping and you feel really gutted and down. And the next morning you wake up and you know what? Not that much has actually changed. Let's go for a walk and a chat. I've been out this morning, got out nice and early to get in a trail run in the dark, hence my new headlamp, which I'm loving. And it's been a very mild start to winter here in Sydney. It's still like 15, 16 degrees getting up in the morning, which is really unusual for this time of year. Normally by now we're kind of down into single digits or just around 10 or 12, so it's definitely like 3 or 4 degrees warmer than normal. Anyway, beautiful morning out there, crisp, dark, Pixie running through the dark as well. It's very cool. Well, yesterday was the Australian federal election, and I must admit I've been a swinging voter throughout my life. I've voted both sides of politics, major sides and independents, and minor parties too. And I was hoping for a change of government yesterday. I was actually pretty gutted that there wasn't. And my biggest issue of importance right now is climate change. I know there's a lot of people out there who don't think that it's real or think it's overblown, but I did my undergraduate degree in atmospheric science, and I can tell you the data out there is pretty damn scary. So the choice in this election seemed pretty clear to me. There was one side promising, quite significant action on climate change, and one side that basically had no plan whatsoever, i.e. the government. And I was hoping that the opposition would be elected just so we could get some movement on this really critical issue. It wasn't to be. So I must admit, last night I was pretty gutted. And then this kind of funny thing happened this morning. I woke up and looked out at this beautiful day, and I realised that, well, the government that was up for re-election is still the government today. And actually, nothing has changed. Like, yesterday I was in a good mood, and nothing has changed. So why should I not be in a good mood today? It's got a bit weird, isn't it? Oh, now this is pretty cool. This is actually a Australian local plant called Xantheria. Basically like these big shafts that grow up with these seed pods on the top. And there's another one over there. These are actually what the local indigenous people used to use for spears way back when. They kind of grow out and they flower, and the birds absolutely love them. And then once they dry out, actually perfect for making spears with. You see that mountain bikers have been coming through on this trail. Not really supposed to. Lots of good trails in this area. And this is one they're not supposed to be on. Naughty, naughty. I think very often we see ourselves as kind of being powerless as victims. And this is a kind of classic example, right? I mean, I could be upset for weeks about the fact that there hasn't been a change of government. But that's kind of like admitting that there's nothing that I can do about, the main issue or issues that are actually important to me. And, I don't think that's true at all. You can always do something. You can always advocate and make noise and try to persuade people to take actions on the issues that you find important. You're never just a victim that's sitting there that can't actually take any sort of action. And I guess I kind of realised that, there has been no change. So why should I be waking up today feeling any different than I was when I woke up yesterday? It's kind of like I was prepared to pass my responsibility to advocate for an issue that's important to me, to advocate for climate change action. I was prepared to pass that responsibility off onto, a potential future government. And that's just wrong. We should always be looking to try and take action ourselves on the issues that are important to us. So, not only did I realise that nothing's changed. Today, the world is exactly the same as it was yesterday, more or less. But I also realised that, I'm not just powerless at the whim of the elected people of today on the issues that are important to me. I do have the choice to actually take some action. And you know what? That's what today's video is about. Climate change is an absolute real phenomenon. The scientific data is absolutely unequivocal. We've now got not like a few years, but we've got decades of research that tackle this issue from all sorts of different angles. And so if you're a little bit skeptical about whether climate change is real and we should be doing something about it as humans, what I'd highly recommend you do is to search on the internet for IPCC, which is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and they put out a really fantastic, easy to read document with all of the unequivocal scientific evidence on how we know that this climate change stuff is real and some of the things that humanity needs to be thinking about to try and mitigate against it. Because honestly, it's everybody's responsibility, whether it's from choosing to drive an electric car or put solar panels on your roof if you can, through to walking more, consuming less meat, because agriculture burns up a lot of, creates a lot of greenhouse gases. These are all things that are within our control as individuals. Something that happened yesterday ruined today, because that would be the greatest shame of all. Anyway, whatever you're getting up to today, I hope it is a really good one. I'll see you next time on the morning walk. Thanks for joining me. Alright, so this is just too funny because literally this morning I was talking about importance of climate change, IPCC. Today at Government House, this is Andy Pittman, one of my old professors from university, receiving an Order of Australia, which is like the biggest deal pretty much in the country that you can get as a community award. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And this morning I was talking about the IPCC report. You kind of helped write and edit that.
Yep, I was a lead author on 2 reports and review editor on 1.
Which is a big deal. So just tell me, how much, for those people who don't understand, let's not talk about what the report is, but how much science is behind that single document?
So what happens is you get a bunch of authors together and they are expert in their field, and they go over all of the science that's been published in the preceding 5 or 7 years, and they assess it. So they look to see whether science is robust, whether science might not be completely accurate, and you build a consensus view, arguing around a table over all of the detail and over all of the points, and you finally write a draft report. That's reviewed by thousands of people, and you write a second version, and that's reviewed by thousands of people, and you have to be able to defend every sentence, and at the end of that process you end up with a report that's been reviewed by many thousands of people, and it's the best assessment we can make of the science. So if you read all of the papers cited in an IPCC report, you would invest many careers in actually simply reading that science.
And so for somebody who doesn't understand, so that in the language, I mean, just to come with a report like that, to have really clear, definitive statements about how serious this is as an issue and where things are heading, how difficult is it to get a clear-cut statement about the human impact on the climate?
So it's extremely difficult, as you might have guessed, and it's usually pretty conservative because there are always ideas that are out there at the extremities of where the science is, but unless there's been really good proof that that science is right, it probably doesn't get into an IPCC report. So what's in there is what the climate scientists are certain about.
Yeah.
What isn't in there is what we think. It's only what we're sure about. So it is quite a conservative document, and there would be many scientists who think it's too conservative, and we should frame it in the context of risk, not in the context of consensus. And if you do that, you get a slightly scarier story.
So contrary to what we sort of see in the media, these kind of reports, the climate change stuff, it's not just left-leaning, tree-hugging hippies that are putting this stuff out, right? This is real.
No, so physics doesn't recognize left or right. If you jump off a cliff and shout, "I don't believe in gravity," it has absolutely no impact on what happens to you when you hit the ground. You can deny climate change, you can say climate change is wrong. That doesn't actually change whether climate science is right or not.
That's true.
So your fundamental problem, if you don't believe in climate change, is the evidence doesn't agree with you. As someone said, you can have your own views, but you can't disagree with the facts when the facts are clear and unambiguous from the science.
And so for somebody who might be watching this, who's like, you know, who feels that, so my vlog this morning was about the fact that I was going into this election and I've been a swinging voter, so this year I was really voting on the climate issue. I really wanted a change of government, and then I woke up this morning and I went, oh my god, like it's going to be more years of inaction. And then I realised, like, hang on, that's defeatist. I can do something myself. For somebody who's watching this who wants to do something, what would you say to them?
Well, if you did wake up on Sunday depressed, don't worry as much. If you go and talk to people in business, in merchant banking, investment, they have already acted. The investment money, the actual real capital that drives our economy and the global economy has already shifted away from fossil fuels towards renewables. It doesn't actually matter what individual governments think now. The tide has changed. So there is a good news story. It's in spite of many government leaderships around the world. It's happening, and really the trick is to get onto that wave and surf it, because there's going to be a lot of money made in solving the climate change problem.
So basically, like, take your superannuation and invest it in renewables.
There are already many superannuation companies that only invest in renewables. They don't invest in fossil fuels, not because they're touchy-greenies, it's because they're fearful of stranded assets, and they're fearful that the money invested in fossil fuels won't return as well as money invested in renewables.
So good to chat, Andy, and congratulations
My
on
pleasure.
the Order of Australia.
And congratulations to your mum.
Thank you.